pump, and it's really two pumps side by side. And it's got 4 chambers. The right side of the heart always has oxygen or blood in it. The left side of the heart, oxygen-rich blood. And those are the 2 circulations. The pulmonary circuit is going to begin at the left atrium, where the systemic circuit begins. The systemic circulation is going to begin at the left atrium. Did I say left atrium or right atrium? Right atrium. Okay. And the left atrium is where the systemic begins and the pulmonary ends. So keep that in mind, that it's a constant flow. The right side of the heart is going from the heart to the lungs, back to the left side of the heart. The left side of the heart is going to all body parts and then back to the right side of the heart. All right. So what do we have? We have 4 chambers. We have right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. The right atrium and the right ventricle is separated by a coronary sulcus, which is called the right coronary sulcus. The blood vessel in here is the right coronary artery. If you look on your key, it talks about the right coronary artery. It's number 31. Okay? And then number... well, let's keep on going. So we get separated by those 2. The right ventricle and left ventricle are separated externally by the anterior interventricular sulcus. This is a depression that goes down through the in between the 2 ventricles, and it separates it externally. Okay? Left side of the heart. Let me lose my train of thought. So those are the external features there. On the posterior side of the heart, you have a posterior interventricular sulcus and this structure here, which is the coronary sinus. And the coronary sinus is where all the blood from the heart muscle is collected and returned back to the circulation via this opening, which is the opening to the coronary sinus. Right there.
So you said its purpose. What was its purpose?
Well, its purpose is to bring blood back to the heart. Remember that the heart has got to have a constant supply of oxygenated blood, and the heart has has a circulation of its own, the coronary arteries and coronary veins. So the coronary sinus is where all the blood, which is oxygen poor, has been collecting from the heart muscle and going back into the pulmonary circulation so we can get oxygen. Okay? Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right. Okay. Everybody knows the apex of the heart. That's not a problem. Major blood vessels. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. This is the pulmonary trunk, and again, a trunk gives rise to branches. So the branches are left pulmonary artery and right pulmonary artery. Is it oxygen rich or oxygen poor? That's right. It is the exception in the adult heart. Every artery in the adult heart carries oxygen rich blood, with the exception of the pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary arteries are on their way to the heart with oxygen poor blood to get the oxygen. True or false? All arteries carry blood away. Very good. Arteries begin with the letter A, they begin blood away. So anytime it's going away from the heart, it is an artery. If it's coming back to the heart, it's a vein. All right? And so, again, left and right pulmonary arteries. These two are the left and right pulmonary veins. Now they're returning blood back returning blood back from the heart, from the lungs to the heart, which is now oxygen rich. Now, do all veins return to the heart?
Yes.
Yes. Very good. Good job. All right. Do all veins carry oxygen-poor blood?
No,
No.
No. And the exception is?
pulmonary vein.
Good job.
Yeah.
Pulmonary veins are going to be oxygen rich. That's the exception in the adult heart. Okay? All right.
So pulmonary veins are the only veins that carry oxygen, right?
Oxygen rich blood in the adult heart. And again, I say that because the fetal heart is a little bit different. Okay, internally, let's take a look. We have this structure here, which is a depression in the atrium. That's a depression in the atrium, which is a leftover remnant of fetal circulation. It's called the fossa, F-O-S-S-A, fossa ovale. In the fetal heart, it's called the foramen ovale, which means it's what? It's open. It's a hole. Everybody got it? Okay. And of course, here's the entrance for the inferior vena cava and superior vena cava. And then they pass through this valve, which separates the right atrium from the right ventricle. And that valve is the right atrioventricular valve, also known as tricuspid. So remember, tricuspid is on the right side, tri going right. All right? Okay. You got chorda tendineae, papillary muscles, and then this chamber, of course, represents the ventricle. It is going to pump blood up through this valve, which is the, which is the pulmonary semilunar valve. It's at the base of the pulmonary trunk. Where is it going? It's going on its way to the lungs. Oxygen poor. It's going to drop off the oxygen, drop off the carbon dioxide, pick up the oxygen and nutrients, and come back to the heart. When it comes back to the heart, it's going to go through the pulmonary veins into the left atrium. Now, from the left atrium, it passes through the left atrioventricular valve, also known as the mitral, M-I-T-R-A-L. Some people say mitral, some people say mitral. Matter of fact, in London, they call it mitral valve. Here, we call it mitral valve. Then again, we don't speak the same language. All right. So you got the valve.
Wait, so it's also called bicuspid?
It's also called a bicuspid, yes, because it has two cusps. All right. Then, from the left ventricle, it gets pumped up through this valve, which is behind the AV valve, and that is the at the base of the aorta, and it's the aortic semilunar valve. We're on our way to the all parts of the body: ascending aorta, aortic arch, descending aorta, and you'll see in today's lecture, the aorta gives off branches to all the organs in the chest and in the abdomen. So I'm going to just mention these three blood vessels because we're going to mention them in today's lecture. So on the left side, this is the left subclavian artery. Now, if you know your bones, it tells you it's going under what bone? The clavicle. Okay, so the left subclavian goes under the clavicle, and then it branches off and goes down the arm and all the way to the fingers. The one in the middle is what is known as the left common carotid. Left common carotid. The reason it's called the common carotid is it branches. It branches up here into an interior and an exterior carotid. So that's why the first section of it, like a trunk, the first section of it is called the common carotid because it's a common pathway. Now this one on the right side is going to be a little bit more challenging. This is called the brachiocephalic artery, also known as the brachiocephalic trunk. And brachiocephalic is spelled B-R-A-C-H-I-O-C-E-P-H-A-L-I-C, brachiocephalic, which means arm and head, arm and brain. So this is going to branch off to the right subclavian and the right carotid. Okay, so we'll get to that in today's lecture. Now let me see if I've covered everything that you need to know for Monday's practical. If you know all of what I just said, you'll do very well. Gotta mention this.
Something. It's semi.
You talking about this?
Yeah.
All right. This is a leftover remnant of circulation in the fetus. And in the fetus, it's called the ductus arteriosus. You'll get that on the lecture today. In the adult heart, it turns to connective tissue, which anchors both blood vessels together. And this piece is called the ligamentum, the connective tissue, ligamentum arteriosus. In other words, the ligament of an artery. And you've got two major arteries that join, pulmonary and aortic.
So what was it before? Like in a
before it was called the ductus arteriosus. And what that means, it's a tube or a duct between the two arteries.
So it's like a detour?
Yeah, exactly. The foramen ovale is a detour, and this is a detour. And you'll get that in today's lecture. All right, did you get it? Any questions?
Is the trabeculate carne, is that just for the ventricles?
Yeah, it's in the ventricles, and what it does, it gives the heart muscle more strength. Right? Those raised portions are giving it more strength. So it's trabecula basically is a network or framework. So it's the framework of the carne, C-A-R-N-A-I, and a framework of meat, or the heart muscle.
Thank you.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Professor, I have a question. Can you go over this three again?
Sure. The one on the left side goes underneath the left clavicle. It is called the left subclavian. It branches off into the axillary artery, the brachial artery, the radial artery, the pulmonary artery, and the medial artery. Okay? But it's all one blood vessel. Okay? It's all one continuous flow. The one in the middle is called the common carotid artery. And the common carotid goes up to the brain. It branches here into an internal and an external carotid. Then on the right side, you have a short trunk, which is called the brachiocephalic trunk or the brachiocephalic artery. And it is going to give rise to the right carotid artery and the right subclavian. So they're going to branch off. And you'll see that in today's lecture. Okay? All right, so go.
So when you say auricle, is this like an auricle, this whole thing?
This is the auricle, right here. Okay? This flap here is considered to be the auricle, right here. And supposedly it looks like an ear. I don't know. I don't think so. Did that answer your question? Or does it frustrate you even more?
No, you answered my question.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me ask you a quick question. What's this blood vessel? This one?
Oh, that one? Superior.
Superior vena cava. What's this one?
Inferior. If
What's this
okay.
opening?
Um,
Good job. Oh, you may see that. You may see that on the practice. You may see that on the practice.
Professor, this
No,
one
not
is
may.
the-
You will see that on the practice.
so this one is the anterior.
This is the. You talking about the blood vessel or the sulcus?
The sulcus.
The sulcus is the anterior, as opposed to posterior, anterior interventricular, in between the two ventricles, sulcus or depression.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Are there specific veins you want us to know, or like branches?
No, I'm not going to go that far. Today is blood vessels, and I may add just this one, which is what they call the circumflex artery. This is the right coronary artery, and you already know the left anterior descending. I'd much rather you know the structure. You'll get into a lot of blood vessels when you get to physiology.
So, Professor, which one is the great cardiac, is it vein or something right here? There should be a small cardiac something and a great cardiac vein. I don't know.
Oh, you talking about the cardiac vein?
Yeah, I saw it somewhere, but I don't know.
Number 27 should be great cardiac vein. Oh no, it's a coronary sinus. They call it
Oh, it's 28.
great cardiac vein is here.
28.
Alright. So this is a coronary sinus. The great cardiac vein is this leading into the sinus right here.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Alrighty. Are we good? Alright. Good job, Alex.
I thank you.
That was a good pickup.
Alex,